Here we are, riffing while black. Man, we've taken a break and now we're finally back, Dr. Helm.
Hello, Dr. Prince. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Um, I just want
Happy
to make sure I don't.
holidays.
Happy holidays, happy New Year, happy post
What? How
Kwanzaa.
were yours? How were yours?
It was actually pretty chill. I didn't really go anywhere. I just ate a lot of food and got back on my health journey. It's
Okay.
January, so I'm doing dry January. My friends are like looking at me like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I'm trying to lose weight, bro. I'm trying to live that healthy lifestyle."
Okay. 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 Okay.
Taking
Nice.
on any, no dry January for you?
I am doing dry January. As you know, my birthday was a few days ago, so my dry January starts after my birthday. But I am doing dry January. Yep.
Okay, after your birthday, so you turning 26. That's good to know, Dr. Helm.
I'm okay with not being 26. I did that already, so
You said I did it already, I don't
I
need to
did.
do it again?
I don't need to go back there. No.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we have a nice little list of topics to discuss today. I'm gonna pull them up real quick here. So number one, actually, bit of a continued sadness, but we're going to talk about the shooting of that woman in Minneapolis. Just spend a little time on that. That happened just, yeah, I guess, yesterday. Um,
Deeply
yeah,
sad. Deeply
yeah,
sad.
deeply sad. But we'll get into more of the details later on. We definitely have a health, sexual health topic. Remind me what that topic is today.
The topic is why do people struggle to use contraception and to talk about it?
Ah, yes. And then we got bird theory, or no, not theory, but like the idea of talking about a bird. Well, I guess it's a theory, and we'll
Yeah.
get into that. And then we have this video where I share about why boys need to be boys. Um,
Okay. I can't wait to see that video. I haven't seen the video, so
It'll be interesting to talk about. And then we have our side eye, the invasion of Venezuela, the kidnapping of their president, which is what the who's not the greatest guy in the world. Let's just be real clear, but that's something that we'll do some side eye around today. Is that cool?
that's cool.
All right. For our grounding card, this is the one I want to use today. It says, feeling that I often develop when talking about diversity, equity, inclusion include our blank and blank.
Blank and blank. So I think it depends on the audience for me. If it's a receptive audience, then I'm excited.
Mhm.
If it's a hostile audience, then I'm totally not excited.
Especially these days, you got this, a
Yes.
lot of hostility out there in the
Yeah.
world.
It doesn't have to be an informed audience. If it's a receptive audience of varying levels, I'm totally excited. If it's a hostile audience who really doesn't want to hear anything about it or learn anything about it, then I'm like, I dread it.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. And going back to this card, it says feeling that I often develop when talking about the I'll be honest, I don't know if caution is a feeling necessarily, but I'm definitely feeling cautious.
Sure.
Because like what you just described, who is my audience? Who am I talking to? What pushback am I gonna get? But what's funny is I still get excited, even when I have that pushback. Now
Mhm.
there's some people who, I'll be honest, they're not interested in hearing and they're not curious. They're not, you know, percolating about the possibilities. And so those folks, I don't even really have a conversation with for the most
Yeah.
part, unless there maybe is a friend, and they're asking questions. I'm like, you're not going to agree with me. So why are we talking about this? But the excitement is the opportunity, right? Because everyone's in a different place, in a different
Sure.
situation. And so I get excited about in my role, depending on what role I'm playing, to support them in that. And I think for me, sometimes I've had to acknowledge that maybe I'm not the one to support them in the way that's going to move them forward.
Yeah.
But I can be a positive, I don't know, presence for lack of a better word. So I guess that's that excitement and caution is what comes up for me.
Okay. Fair. Fair.
Cool. So do you want to start off with the thing in Minneapolis first? Not so much to get it out the way, but since it's such a heavy issue.
We could do that. We could do that.
And I don't know how much you know about it, but more and more details come out about it. What I know, and please share what you understand, is this is a single mother, won some awards in poetry, and while she was in school, her son is 6 years old. And I think what people are so upset about this is that she was part of this protest that's been going on in Minneapolis and other cities for some time, particularly on that given day following the police, which isn't illegal, and was protesting and making her her concerns known. But I think what people are concerned about is that the use of deadly force in a
Mhm,
situation where there didn't seem to be any immediate harm to a police officer.
mhm,
Yet our president has come out and made it seem like the police officer wasn't even a police officer, it was an ICE agent, and that the ICE agent was run over.
mhm.
And so there's a lot of misinformation out there, but it's just so sad to see this young woman, white woman, who was shot and killed, and now have left there. And apparently, is her husband, who used to be part of the military, he apparently passed away, and so their
Oh,
child is now doesn't have a mother and father because of this incident.
and I think that that's the real tragedy. Like, we hear about it in the news and we're shocked and horrified, but you have a little boy who's gonna grow up with no parents, right? There are ripple effects in the community of this young woman who, was, trying to make good on what she believed in. Um, and whether you agree with her or not, she lost her life. She lost her life in a very violent way, and she leaves behind a son, right? And so it's heartbreaking. It really is. It's angering, it's heartbreaking. It shouldn't have happened. Um, it's angering and it's very sad.
Well, and unfortunately, I've been talking to a couple of folks, more than a few folks who are in law enforcement. Now they're on the police side; they're not ICE agents. Um, and they would remind me of is that well, the ICE agents are supposed to be going after people who are supposedly in the country illegally
Yep,
or undocumented. And this person clearly, from every, what people could like, not that you can assume anything just looking at a person, but there was no
sure.
reason to believe the person was undocumented. Number one.
I just don't know why
Number
we're
two,
shooting people.
yeah,
Like, why are
and
we
then why are we and then even, like, all the video that shows that the person could have gotten out of the way if there was any concern about being in the way and being harmed. But then just exaggeration and misinformation is being shared by our president. I will say this, I was pleased to see the mayor of Minneapolis come out and says, "Get the fuck out of our city."
I didn't see that. Oh,
I was kind of pleased by that for some reason. It was a very natural, authentic response, um, to I mean, they've been saying this for months now. "We don't need you
it's
here."
just sad. Like, it's just, she didn't have to die. Why
You
why
think
was yeah.
Yeah, she didn't have to die, and that we shouldn't be in this situation, and they could have arrested her or whatever options they could have had. Do you
Yes.
think it makes a difference that it's a white woman who got shot and killed?
A difference in what way?
Maybe people are paying more attention to it or more empathetic?
I don't know because, I haven't I've followed it, but I haven't sort of dug deep. I just, when you hear stuff like that, you think to yourself, this mother who will no longer be able to raise her son who's not here, and he will feel the impact of her loss forever. To me, that is one of the most heartbreaking things. It shouldn't have happened. Right?
Yeah.
So, her being white, I don't I key less into that in this instance just because of, kinda learning about the fact that you have the six-year-old who has no parents.
Right, and that to me,
And
not
it
that the
happens
race
every day. Every day it
right,
happens. Yeah,
yes, yeah, and the thing is that these things are happening all the time, with the interaction between law enforcement. The problem is that it's agitated even more currently, and I think we're bringing some awareness, I think, to people, and I think it may make a difference for some people because she wasn't undocumented. She wasn't a person of color. She was a good old US born American who was lawfully, who didn't have a criminal record,
yeah,
whose husband was in the military. And so it's hard to set the situation up for something uh, that can be construed as something very negative.
yeah,
And what you're seeing, unfortunately, is a president who's just basically lying. And even when they had an interview, I think, with the New York Times, and they showed the actual video, because no one knows what he saw before that. He showed the video. He says, "Well, that's pretty horrible." Like, I mean, it's so obviously horrible. And even if you thought the officer was in danger, you just have to ask yourself, was it imminent? Was there? I mean, I could have gotten out the way with my bad knees.
your bad news. You're so silly. It just again, I just ugh, ugh,
It's heartbreaking. It's
it
heartbreaking,
is.
and
And
we
I
should.
I hope you hope out of tragedy comes something meaningful because it's a meaningless, what happened to her.
Mhm.
But you would hope that that people really think about, is this the path we want to be on? Is this who we want to say we are? Um, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying this is not the path we want to be on.
I hope
Um,
so.
I mean, I think there's plenty of people who are okay with this and who have justified it in their mind and say this is what the president they trust the president, and I kinda get that mindset, but I think there's too many people who don't trust, our systems right now, particularly this president. So, it's sad, but I wanted to just give voice to this because I think people are concerned about it, they're
Yeah.
heartbroken about it, but I'll speak for myself. I feel this is just another one of those incidents that we're experiencing in this country right now that's heartbreaking. My hope is that people don't become numb to it and kind of just kind of like
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. I agree.
So we'll see. So with that, let's tackle the sexual health topic because I think it's going to be related to some of the other things we're going to talk about today.
Yes. So our sexual health topic today is, why people struggle to ask their partners to use protection as a topic of conversation, right? And, I think we talked about this on a previous podcast, but you see a lot of STDs running rampant in baby boomers and older Gen Xers because, right, whether they divorced or they lost their partner to death or something like that, they're still having sex, right? And a lot of times, if you hadn't had to think about protection in years, you revisit the awkwardness of asking someone for test results, getting tested yourself, all that stuff that people think just belongs to young folks. It does not. It does not. And so I find in my work oftentimes with couples and with individuals, they have a hard time having conversations about protection. And I think you and I talked about before the intimate act of taking your clothes off and being with somebody, right, in a physically intimate way is somehow easier for people than having a conversation about test results and about using protection, which is kind of interesting. We want to do it, but we don't want to talk about it.
Well, do you think? So what you made me think of is that people practice taking their clothes off far more than they have the conversation about protection.
I
Do
guess
you think it's a
so, but you
practice
practice
thing?
taking your clothes off on your own, right? Like that, like when you go, I mean, yes, with somebody else, but for the most part, when you're taking your clothes off and put them on, you're taking them off for yourself to get dressed or something like that.
Right,
When you take
right,
your clothes off with somebody else, people are still vulnerable around that, but
yeah.
people still feel more comfortable doing that than actually having conversations. And it's still a problem. Herpes is still out there.
It
Gonorrhea,
is.
are still out there. So just because you're of a certain age does not exempt you from getting tested, from asking your partner when were the last time you got tested, like, and what are your test results, and let's use protection, and what does that look like?
See, and you're correct, and it makes me think about even why, as we get older, even the act of taking off our clothes could be uneasy. Some of us are turning the lights off. You're like, I want to avoid what I'm about to see here in a minute. Let me just go and turn off this light. We could close the blinds, and so sometimes we're even avoiding that part of it. So, and I'm joking, but I guess what I'm saying is that there's an unease that you think you might have as you get older if you've had these conversations regularly. That for some reason, as we get older, there's a certain unease that seems to kind of kick back in. Like
Sure.
maybe I've had this thing for HPV or something else for a long time, and so now I'm back on the market and I'm meeting someone. Is
Yeah.
that a conversation? I mean, and there's a lot of shame around that, and I'm not sure what to do about it because it's like we need to have these conversations, but we're not for a lot of different reasons. Why do you think people are not having it? Because there's clearly a reason why we're not doing
Yeah.
it.
Well, so I think one, the conversation can be awkward, right? We have not been trained or socialized to have these conversations, right? There's still a lot of stigma around talking about sex and sexual health and things like that. And two, I think people are embarrassed, right? And it
Mhm.
doesn't go away. So when you're young, you're doing your thing, and let's say you get married or you have a long-term partner, right? And then you don't have that partner anymore. Now you have to sort of it's a throwback, and now you have to you never got comfortable having the conversation in the first place,
Yeah,
right? You just
yeah,
didn't have to have it with a longer term partner,
right.
or so you
We already
thought,
talked about it.
and now you
Done.
gotta have it again, right? And
Multiple
so
times.
you gotta have it multiple times, but, sexual health is part of health, and if you're not having the conversation, are you taking care of yourself? And part of taking care of yourself is asking about getting tested, right? If if you come down with the flu, maybe you go to the doctor and get some medication for it. What makes you think that sexual health is different?
But, you know, even people will hide that they have a cold, right? Because somehow having a cold makes you look, I don't know, weak, or I don't know what it is, but we'll be like,
Oh,
"Oh, no, I ain't sick. I got allergies." You
yeah.
know?
And wait, to your example, your allergies that are actually a cold or the flu or something else gonna get everybody sick. It's the same thing with sex.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we're
So I
passing
don't
COVID.
think the awkwardness around test result, and I don't think the awkwardness goes away when you get older unless you've
No.
done some work around it. Now you're just feeling awkward about other things like changing bodies, right? Sex doesn't look
Mhm.
the same way as it did when you were younger. Um, Bodies do different things. And so, you talk about having sex in the dark or getting changed in the dark, for a lot of people, that's a real thing.
Well, as Chris Tucker and Bernie Mac taught us, it said, if I can get past 5 minutes and you get 20 good strokes, that's it. So if I'm more concerned about that, then so it's like, oh, on top of that, we gotta talk about protection and
Yeah.
contraception. Whew,
Yeah,
my
and
shoulders
as
hurt right
the
now.
conversations get less awkward, the more practice you have, and
And maybe
how people respond to it, right? So if somebody is receptive to having the conversation, that tells you a lot about them versus somebody who
yes.
refuses to have the conversation or avoids the conversation. Maybe that's not somebody who you wanna mix and match with.
Because what else are they not gonna share? What else are they feeling embarrassed about? And I'm not saying that's not something you can get past and beyond and develop relationships as a result, but those are the kinds of things about honest, open communication
Yep,
are really important. And let's acknowledge, I'll speak for myself. I've fallen short of the standard that I've wanted to set for myself when it comes to that because I've always felt confident or always felt like whatever, but I know I've made a commitment to that. And I'll be honest, one of the things I do is I'm in my mind thinking about, okay, what's my status around this? Not that I need to, like I'm not unaware of it. It's just saying, like,
yeah,
this is the language around it, right? So when
yeah,
I do have to bring it up, it flows versus it makes it even more awkward and weird. So I've had to kind of put some thought towards it so I'm prepared
yeah,
for the conversation and being willing to start the conversation.
great.
Hey, I know we haven't talked about this yet, and I've been thinking about it, and I don't know if you have either, but I feel like we need to talk about contraception or not. What's our
Yeah.
history around our sexual health? Are you free and clear? When's the last time you've
Well,
been
yeah, because just
tested?
because women can't get pregnant anymore does not mean that when you swap bacteria with something, you don't leave with something you didn't come with, no pun intended.
But it's funny you say that because that is when we were younger, the primary concern, right?
Yeah,
I don't wanna get pregnant.
yeah,
I ain't ready for no babies.
yeah.
Now, like, I mean, I already
You
had my
got ready for
babies, but
what somebody else may have anyway. It ain't not got nothing to do with the baby.
this is the thing, there's so many people who already have things, right? There's a good portion of folks who
Yes!
have HPV.
Yes, that's why they came up with the HPV vaccine in the first place, is because what is it? Something like, I don't want to misquote, but like, is it 90% of adults carry, HPV? It's just not active, which is why they came up with
Right.
the vaccine in the first place. I think that's right, but if my stat is wrong,
That's
I apologize.
about right, and I think what
Yeah,
people were worried about is that it caused, cancer, throat cancer, but there's only a certain strain of HPV that
yes,
actually causes cancer. So there's a
yeah,
lot of so now it speaks to the misinformation that's out there and all the other kind of things that people are trying to navigate as well, so well, I'm glad we talked about it because I think it's something we have to kind of revisit and be comfortable with and practice and, get in the mirror if need be and say, "Hey, this is the conversation that we need to be having."
yeah,
And
and I
even if
think
you
people
haven't
can acknowledge, right? Like, this is awkward, but I want to bring this up, or it's a little anxiety provoking, but I think we should talk about it. It's as much as a litmus test for who you are dating, right? Or who you want to have sex with, like in terms of what kind of partner they might be if they're open to the conversation. So pay attention to that.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I even liked how you said earlier, it's like even calling out the feelings you're having. This
Yeah.
feels awkward. This feels weird. I wasn't sure how to bring this up to you, but I know it's important.
But I
You
know
know,
it's important for both you and I. Yes. Yeah. You won't regret having an awkward conversation, but you might regret not having one. You won't
right.
regret it if it's awkward. It'll just be awkward and you will work through it. You will regret, right, not having it at all and finding something that you didn't want to find.
Find that. It ain't Easter, okay?
Really.
Easter egg hunts, Um, cool, well, thank you for that, that was really I feel like I wanna go straight to, the bird, and I know you probably know about this a little bit more than I do, but I came across this. This is, Gottman's, work and
It is.
research,
I knew
and
it
I
when you
find
sent me the video, I was like I knew in 2 seconds, I was like, "Oh, that's Gottman."
yeah, and for folks who are not familiar with this idea of the bird theory is basically when you go to your partner, and this can be, it's kind of was set up for women to men and heterosexual, but this is I think across any
It's really
relationship.
for all couples. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and basically it's this idea that you go to your partner and you say, "Hey, I saw this bird today." And he just starts off with that. I mean, there's probably other ways of starting off the conversation. That's you go to your partner and say, "Hey," and I was kind of wondering if we should do it as a kind of an example. But you go to your partner and you say, "Hey, I saw this bird today. Something inconsequential, not very important. It's not the building's on fire. I lost my job. Something critical. It's something mundane like this bird."
Yeah.
And see what your partner's response will be. And I guess I was curious about what you learned about it and your understanding of it.
Yeah, so it's not actually called the bird theory. That's what social media kind of dubbed it, but it's been around. Like this is based in Gottman's research with the Love Lab in the 1990s. Okay, where he would bring couples into the Love Lab and put them on. He would tape them, and this is where he learned about all kinds of really interesting things like the four horsemen of the apocalypse, criticism, contempt, right, defensiveness, stonewalling. Feel free to look that up. Very, very good stuff, right? And, hey, I saw this bird today. What it really is a bid for affection and attention from your partner, right? To allow, and this is Gottman's language. And in later years, his wife, also a psychologist, Julie Gottman, they've combined their efforts. But it's really like you're looking at your phone with this article and you're like, oh, that's really interesting. And your partner says, what are you reading? Right? It's about engagement, right? It's about, putting out a bid for affection or attention and your partner picking it up. Because couples who, like, make bids and they get ignored or, "Ugh, what?" Right? It says something about the relationship. Now, one ignored bid doesn't say anything about the relationship, but a pattern of ignored bids, or if your partner is contemptuous or hostile to your bids, "What do you want?" Like, that would be a bad response, right? That sort of increases the fragility of the relationship. Things aren't going well because one of the things that emotionally connects couples, now this is my jam as a couples therapist, so pardon me because I get all up in this stuff, right? But that speaks to the emotional connectedness of the couple. Do we
Mm.
know what's in each other's world? Am I curious about what's going on in your world? Do I reach out for you for a bit and do you pick up my hand? Right. So that's what the bird theory is about. One time a misbid, typically not that big a deal if the couple is not in a distressed place, but over time it wears the relationship down. And what happens is you're reading an interesting article and you no longer reach for your partner because you don't have any faith that they will receive your bid for affection and attention. So you stop looking it to them.
And I really like it because it is about those mundane things, and like you said, it's a pattern of behavior. It's not the one and done. Because I've seen that happen where people are like, "Well, I told you about this, and you just didn't care." No,
Yeah.
no, it's a pattern of behavior, and it's showing interest. It's having those, you know. I mean, how many times I went to my ex-wife early in our relationship, and I said, "Oh, I really like this Prince song. This song that's not famous, it's not popular, but it's this mundane song. The only people who are big Prince fans really care about. But I'm excited about it,
I
and
love
I want
Prince. Love Prince.
but when of course, she would listen to me. She's like, "I don't know what this fool's talking about," but she would listen to me, and I felt seen,
Yeah.
heard, and
Yeah.
understood. And whether she liked it or not was really irrelevant. It was just the listening and hearing and being
Yeah.
present,
Well, because what
you
you're
know?
saying is this is important to me and I want to share it with you. And when your partner is receptive to that, like, okay, that's interesting. And they don't have to be interested in the thing. They have to be interested in the fact that it interests you.
Yes, and that's the
Yeah.
key part, like, I have no investment. Like, I actually that's the reason this kinda popped up for me because I actually went on a bird watching event, and I was
Oh,
just fascinated how people were like, "Oh, that's a so and so bird," and the difference between a grackle and a raven is the beak, and I'm just like, what? But it was less about the details and being
Yeah.
present, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and hearing and listening and you know and just being present with the moment. And I was just like, okay, this is not my jam, bird
Yeah.
watching, but I get it. I get it why it's you're outside, it's peaceful, it's quiet, and you pulling out your binoculars to see this white crane that's different than this other crane.
No, I guess my question to you would be, did you care about the people you were with?
Yeah, yeah,
So
and
that's
that's why.
why, right, like, if you care about the it's like hearing about somebody else's children. Like, if you have a
Mhm.
relationship with them and they tell you a story about their kid, you're more likely to be like, "Oh, that's really
Yeah,
interesting," or "That's really
yeah,
funny."
yeah,
You don't know
yeah,
that person, you're like, "Oh," you know? And so, even if you weren't interested in bird watching yourself, if you cared
right.
about the people you were, you saw how passionate they got about it,
Oh, yeah,
and so
yeah.
you're willing to listen to what they had to say, and that is what the bird theory, kind of bids for affection and attention, a bid for engagement from your partner. That's what it's really about.
And that particular situation was for a friend, so, not someone that I was dating, but it still
Yeah,
plays out kinda similarly, right?
it does.
And
Yeah.
she saw a sign. She said, "Hey, you wanna go to this bird, this thing watching?" I'm like, "Okay, that'd be cool." We get out there. I am not in my element at all, but it was important to her. We work out 3 times a week. We've been friends for a number of years,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why not? Why not go? And it was different experience. Again, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna commit to this. I'm gonna go to this over and over. But it was fun to do. To me, it's no different than other things that people do. So that was. I'm glad we talked about because I think these kind of nuanced little things can be really powerful for one kind of make. And I'll speak to stereotypical guys who are kind of like, I don't know what the big deal is because you're missing those little conversations that people want you to pay attention to. They're making bids, as you described,
Yes.
to say, "Hey, this is important to me." No, it's not the most important. It's not the
Yeah.
house on fire, but you're paying attention to me and you see me, and I
Yeah,
think that's what
what it
people.
says is you matter, our relationship matters. Now, that doesn't mean, right, like, my husband, if he talks about cooking, because he used to be a chef and he goes into all the ingredients and I'm always like, "Oh god, I just want to eat it." Okay, right?
I'm
Um,
hungry.
but I know, how much time and effort he puts into that. Those things matter, right? And so really it's about some of these kind of bids for engagement are, do I matter? Do the things that I enjoy matter? And I want to share them with you. You can't respond to all bids, right? And sometimes you can say, what, I really want to talk to you about this, but I'm not in a good place right now, or I'm really exhausted. Can we pick this up tomorrow? As opposed to ignoring the bid, right? You
Right,
kind of acknowledge that it exists and like you're not in a good place right now. And then make a note to ask them about it later. Like so
right.
the relationship, the emotional connection between you and the partner is preserved.
Well, see, what you remind me of is that when a bid might get missed, and you're like, and they bring it to your attention. Well, I was trying to talk with you about blah blah blah. I'm like, my bad.
Yeah,
you know, and so sometimes acknowledging the miss and reattending to it could be really valuable too. Because
I
even if the
agree.
time's passed and the excitement's over, and maybe they don't care as much anymore, but you're like, "Oh, my bad. I know you said something about I kind of was a little distracted or I missed it. My bad. What was on your mind at the time?"
Exactly. And over time, what happens though is like missed bids again and again and again and again, right? Give the message, I really don't give a damn, right? What you have to say or what you think. And so, do you know that distressed couples, and this is more of Gottman's work, I believe, um, give twice as many bids as non distressed couples, but they get
That makes
missed.
sense.
It's like,
That
I don't
makes
even like
sense.
your ass right now, so I'm not even going to respond. That's interesting,
I
right?
don't like you, and I'm not giving any bids. You get no bids from me.
Right? And the way that you respond is really important. You don't have to be all excited all the time, but, those are the little moments that build emotional connection with one's partner.
Well, you do make me think about I remember getting a few bids. I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." And they're like, "Well, aren't you excited?" I'm like, "Well, no, but that's cool." I'm like, "I'm trying to respond to your bid, but apparently I'm not responding the way that you want me to." So
Let's extrapolate this. It's even with kids, right? So sometimes, one of my kids will tell me something and I'm like, huh? Right. I'll be in the middle of 50 thing. They're like, I want to talk to you about this video game. Okay. Now, I am not into video games. I don't care about video games. I don't know about video games, but they're important to my sons. Right. And so I'll be like, "Oh, tell me about the game," because, they're 11. Within another year or 2, they're gonna be like, "I ain't telling you nothing. I don't care to include you in anything." And so I wanna build a culture of responsiveness so that when they have something to share with me, I wanna be responsive to that, which kind of hopefully keeps the path of communication open, like, "You're important to me. I can't just tell you I love you. I have to show you by listening and caring about the things that are important to you. They don't have to be important to me, but I
Uh,
have to care that they're important to you, and that's why it's important."
I'm glad you're saying this because, particularly you see this amongst fathers. They're like, "Well, I gave you a roof, I fed you, I put clothes on your back," and they feel like, "Well, I've done these basic things that are important to your livelihood, and so if I miss a few things here, what's the big deal?"
Mhm.
Because I don't know if you're just going through the motions or what, but do you actually care about me? Are you interested in the things I'm interested in? And so I
Sure.
think these bids is really an attempt to demonstrate, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm doing these things, but you know what? That's basic. That's
Yeah.
baseline. You're supposed to do all this other stuff as well.
It's about, wanting to be close and maintaining closeness.
Yeah, definitely. Well, cool. We won't have time, and so I'm gonna make the case that we should move the why boys will should be boys to next time.
Okay.
But I want to do our engagement card,
Okay.
and this one says, "I help maintain my physical independence by blank. I help
Oh,
maintain my physical independence by blank." You want to go
s
first, or you want me to go first?
go. So I am a worker outer. As I have gotten older, I do weights and I do cardio and I try to eat healthy because I've seen, even within my own parents, some of their physical decline with not, being as vigilant. And I'm thinking about what it's going to be like. I'm clearly middle aged. Like, what will it be like as I get older? So I want to maintain my physical. They talk about lifespan and health span, right? And
Yeah.
I want to not just live a long life, but I want to be as healthy as possible. And so I'm big Peloton. If you're listening, give me a kickback because I refer everybody to you, all my clients. Come on now, right? Now I'm doing it on the podcast, right? But Peloton does these exercises where you take weights and my balance was crap okay before and you will like and I don't know what they're called like a single leg deadlift maybe where you have to stand on one leg and like put your leg back and you're holding weights. And my balance has significantly improved. And so doing things like as you get older, stairs, I want to be physically healthy for a long time. So if I have a fall or something like that, I don't want brittle bones. And so that's how I maintain my physical independence. And I encourage my clients to do the same thing.
Well, I love that about you. When we met several years ago, because I think we've known each other damn near 20 years.
Yeah.
Um, I remember I went running with you one time. Big
Oh,
mistake. Big
I
mistake.
don't
'Cause
run
this
anymore.
I know, but then you did, and I'm out there like, yeah, I'm going running too because I ran cross country. I can do this. I'm running behind you, huffing and puffing. My heart's coming out my chest. My lungs is getting dry. And so, if y'all don't know, Dr. Helm, she stays. She works out. And if you want to go with her, go. I could say cautiously. You might want to leave before her so you finish at the same time because she be doing stuff.
But you're working out too, so how do you
I
maintain your
am. I'm
physical
just saying,
independence?
I wanted to point out how, the mistake I made.
That was a real long time ago.
It was. It was. It was. I'm just reminding you my knees may have been bad then too. Um, it was pretty bad. Um, how I maintain my, well, not how, but, I help maintain my, independence by I'll be honest, just I take these, 4-mile walks pretty much, if
Nice.
not every day, every other day, and I'll be honest, when I think about independence, it's not just the physical independence, but it's the clarity of mind, oftentimes going on these walks by myself,
Yeah.
just you know, to read books or to get my mind right on something. I mean, I really like your reference to physical health versus what was the other phrase you used?
So there's lifespan and health
Yeah,
span.
yeah, health
Yeah.
span, lifespan. I like that because oftentimes we get a lot of people who are living really long lives, but the
Yeah.
quality is not so great. And so
Yeah.
that's something I'm very much attuned to as well by maintaining part of my dry January is part of actually rebooting my health journey because partly to lose weight, but partly just I know how I feel much better when I'm eating food that's good for me.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of processed food, and so whether it's maintaining a certain kind of diet and, eating on a regular basis and following certain habits, I think actually improve. And so when I work out, I really enjoy it a little bit more. My body feels different, feels
Yeah.
I don't feel full and bloated and all that kind of stuff. And even when I don't drink, I'm not a heavy drinker, but I find that, when I don't do that for a month, I'm drinking more water and other kinds of
Yeah.
things. So these are the things I think that help me feel that sense of independence. So really good, good feeling. We're coming up on time, but I wanted to give the side eye. My side I have today is the invasion of Venezuela. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's ridiculous. Invasion of Venezuela, kidnapping the president, who was a dictator. Let's be clear, dictator who was doing all kinds of foul stuff, but kidnapped him, killed a bunch of people, including his security, and kidnapped him and his wife to bring him back to the U.S. And I'm like, what are we? And now we're talking about taking Greenland from
It
Denmark.
just is so disturbing to me, like, how part of me is like, "Well, how can you just go take somebody else's country?" But that's how certain aspects of the US were won in the taken in the first place, but it's just mm, it's disturbing. It's
Well,
just
and I guess my concern is that there's some people who have kind of this kind of I trust the president. This is part of our, apparently it was previous presidents who wanted to not just have the U.S. from border from coast to coast, but there's people who wanted Canada, they wanted Greenland, and all of North America. And some I don't know how they feel about Mexico, but the point is this idea that we're gonna have this massive piece of land that we're going to take over and bring these great American values. And what's funny is I'm hearing the response of people from like Denmark and Canada. They're like, we don't want to be like America. Y'all have health care, universal health care. Your police are killing your citizens for no reason. Quality of life is trash. So this whatever you're saying you're wanting to somehow give us, we're okay with what we got. Let's keep what we got, not get what you have, which sounds like trash. So I don't know.
I
I got
just
serious
sometimes I
now.
find some of the things on the news so disturbing that I almost have to emotionally distance myself. Not be in denial about it, but it's so disturbing that sometimes I just have to be like, "Okay, I need to turn this off." Uh,
I
uh,
mean,
uh.
if we don't, it's gonna wear us out.
Woo-wee, and wait,
Well,
we're only what, a week. We're only a week into the new year, so oof,
well, if you had any expectations that this year would be different than last year, welcome
I did
back.
I didn't.
I think folks are really helpful because they're like the new, we had the fireworks and all that stuff. Like 2026, it's gonna be beautiful. I
Yeah.
hope it is better than last year, but there's gonna be some nonsense that's gonna be consistent. One more thing before we leave. Our last card, our celebration card. I'm leaving here today with blank. I'm leaving here today. One is it's been a few weeks since you and I have connected and talked
Yeah,
on our podcast. It's really good to see you.
it's good to
I'm looking forward to 2026 and things moving in a positive direction. So I'm leaving here feeling excited and motivated to see where our year and maintaining a optimistic mindset as we move into 2026.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say the same thing. Happy to be back talking with you, riffing while black.
There we go. Riffing while black. Well, hey, we'll see y'all next time. Look forward to continue our conversation. We'll start off hopefully with this the Boys Will Be Boys
Yeah,
video. We'll see how things go. Sound
that
good?
sounds good.
Take care. Enjoy.
Okay, see you later. Bye, everyone. Bye, KP.